It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical, Maind and Dutch. I'm your host, Maind, my colleague, always looking on the bright side of life. It's Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
I tried looking on the bright side once. It just took too long.
It did take too long, and you got sunburnt.
Just gave me something else to moan about.
Exactly right. This week, Dutton, another brilliant interview. We're really pumping these bad boys out, and we really thank everyone for listening and enjoying them. I hope you're enjoying them. You are listening to them, so if you're not enjoying them, then I find that really weird. We've got JJ Zachariason on, talking about running backs in the draft, completion percentage, and weirdly enough, petrol stations. It'll make sense when you listen to it. We've also got a couple of absolutely spectacular weird world stories. One of them has got to be a classic. Do you know why? Because it's based out of Florida, Neil.
Awesome.
Exactly. To be honest, I was looking originally and I was like, there's not enough Florida here, so I literally Googled weird story Florida. Like,
my God.
8 billion. Literally, Google nearly exploded.
I think if you took off all the weird news stories from Florida on the internet, if you took all the weird Floridian news stories and all the porn off the internet, the only sites that would be left would be sites saying, bring back the porn and bring back the crazy Florida news.
Exactly. It is. Before we get on to Weird World, it's Thursday, the 12th of April. It's 9:05 for those who care in the UK.
I don't.
I'm gonna digress here. NFL, I love you, and the reason we do this show is because of you, and people listen to it because they love the NFL.
They don't love us.
You guys have got to do better. You've got to do better. You've got to think better. You've got to act better, and you've got to be role models for people. And when I mean people, I mean, people who think and believe and look forward to a better world and try and get a better world. Not people who beat the living crap out of their wives and girlfriends, smash them over the head 8 or 10 times, and then are told by their respective football team that they are keeping a very close eye on the situation and will make sure that he's dealt with accordingly. No, San Francisco 49ers, I expect better from you West Coast teams. You should be immediately cutting Reuben Foster, and he is the type of person who shouldn't get a job in the NFL. However, the people who can't get a job in the NFL are people who decided that morally they were going to kneel for a fucking national anthem. Oh my God. Like, is this for real? Like, Seattle, fast and loose Pete Carroll, king of the cutting corner, drugs, Adderall everywhere. Screw you, Seattle Seahawks fans, I'm going there. Decides they're going to ask someone whether he's going to kneel for a national anthem, and because he is, they're not going to give him an interview. This is an absolute... Oh my God. I can't stress enough how much this winds me up. I could literally rant on it on Twitter for days, but I try not to. I like to joke about how awesome Liverpool are and annoy Everton fans. That should be your mode in life. But
not just Everton fans.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. But they're the main target. If I get peripheral people, that's not my problem. But I just look and think, you have a chance to do something better. And I understand that me and rich billionaire white guy from Texas may have, if you believe it or not, may have different political ideas. Weird, I know, it's possible. But can we just not have... So on the Kaepernick thing, okay, I don't agree with you, and I think you should do better. But on the Reuben Foster thing, you should all decide that if some fella who is £270 beats up his wife or his girlfriend, he should be fired. I don't know why this is a difficult concept to grasp.
Because bear in mind, the New England Patriots released Aaron Hernandez when he was suspected of murdering Odin Lloyd. Not when he'd been found guilty, when he was suspected.
I don't like. Reuben Foster's been charged with 3 different felony counts, and he's still got a job. Where he basically decided he didn't want Eric Reid and he didn't want Colin Kaepernick. And please, for the love of God, don't be sending me no Colin Kaepernick stat lines or Eric Reid passes defensed, because I'm not interested. Because as soon as you send me that, I will send you literally the backup quarterback for 30 of the NFL teams. So don't go there. This is not... I don't want Colin Kaepernick to start for the Super Bowl champions. Although that would be funny because that's your team. And that means you may not be as good. But then again, you probably would be. But I'm looking at a raft of absolute tripe. Who keep on continually getting jobs. And I'm just not having it. I mean, we could do this forever, Neil. Let's not. For me, the NFL, just do better. No, I'm not even talking about Colin Kaepernick. I'm just saying, morally, do better. I just want you to do better. That's all I'm asking for. Just do better. Let's go lighter right away, and let's go Weird World. Let's go Weird World. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, this is not a Slim Fast advert. You know what I love about robots, Dutton? That they basically help with everything now. And this guy, JJ Santos, has gone to the next level. Here's the headline, Dutton. You ready? Robot sex doll inventor. What a job title, by the way. Claims it has improved his marriage.
No, it hasn't.
Well,
unless you're married to the sex doll.
JJ Santos is a little worried about what happens when... Oh no, whatever. Want to keep a passion in a relationship? Try adding a robotic sex doll. That's the recommendation of Spanish inventor JJ Santos, who created a sex doll equipped with the latest enhancements in artificial intelligence. Samantha is designed to respond to gentle seduction. Don't know what that means. We've got multiple kids. I'm not sure what gentle seduction means. Might need to Google that later.
Yeah. But, oi, bitch! You don't sweat much for a fat lass.
Yeah, we're not. This is not our forte, but it obviously is sex doll inventors. As a result, the 39-year-old electrical engineer said, "Buzz me bot." Great work from HuffPost there. Allows him to get sexual release when his partner of 16 years isn't in the mood. I'm guessing she isn't in the mood probably 365 days a year. Don't want to throw that out there. Maybe, I don't know. This is Sergi now. A man wants to feel in general that the woman is desperate to have sex with him.
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
Generally, no.
Okay. And if a man feels like a woman will not enjoy sex fully, most men do not like sex. And okay. And this is the cause of many sexual problems. So it looks like not only is Sergi an electrical engineer, he's also a psychologist.
Yeah, quite clearly.
As for him and his wife, Santos said, "I need sex sometimes of the day that my wife doesn't want to." And I said, "Look, sex is breaking already many relationships because of lack of synchronism. And I would not put the pressure to our marriage."
Right, just for a kick-off, that conversation never happened. It certainly did not happen in those words. You did not use the word synchronism when telling your missus in the supermarket queue that you fancied a bit.
They're literally selling Randy robots between $3,000 and $7,000. His wife actually spoke for this article. Are you ready for this? She doesn't see any problems with her husband having a robot on the side. That's because she's selling loads of robots to dirty fellas for $7,000 a pop. With couples, I think as long as there is trust in the relationship and mutual respect, then introducing a doll is something that can help, she said.
Mutual respect.
Let me finish. Even if you're compatible on so many other things, but maybe not sex, a doll can be a complementary element and can be a solution.
Mutual respect. This fella invented a machine so he could get his rocks off when his missus didn't want to.
Oh, mate, it's about to get even better.
Oh, Christ.
But Santos, who is planning to build a male sex robot, admits he worries how the reverse situation could affect their relationship. What a tool. It's brilliant, this. I think I would feel jealous if she used the male sex robot. If I found that she likes the male doll better than me in the sense that she doesn't want to be with me, I'd get divorced. So correct me if I'm wrong, Santos.
Assume. Yeah.
Santos is creating that male sex doll with a what we would describe as a Bucky's pencil.
Yeah. Do us a favour, mate. Assume she will prefer it with a robot and just get a divorce for her sake. Oh. So she can rinse you for half of what you own, you misogynistic, chauvinistic prat.
Brilliant, Dalton. That's it on sex robots.
No, please. Let us make a regular segment.
Honest to God, that is magnificent. Like, Barcelona man makes sex robots for $7,000. Says it's all right if he bangs one, but his missus isn't allowed because he'd get jealous.
Yeah. No, you smoker.
Dalton, you've got 2 girls, right? I've got 3 boys. One of your main jobs now, between now and probably 2030, is driving your kids around to places.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that at some point you'll get one of them cute things in the back of your car, Dad's taxi.
No. I leave enough stuff on the back shelf and front seat of my car to encourage the smashing of my windows. Adding something like that is just, it probably invalidate my lingering hopes of getting my car insured.
The question you've got to ask yourself is, Dutton, do you think the girls will always tell you where they're going? Because a girl from Florida did not tell her father, and proven by the story, accused bank robber duped dad into giving her a ride to a job interview, said police.
Okay.
A Florida woman accused of robbing a bank may have gotten her father involved in the crime without him knowing. Chelsea Wilson was arrested Friday after she allegedly robbed a TD bank in Fort Lauderdale on Thursday afternoon. Police said Wilson's father told them he drove her to the bank because she told him she was going for a job interview, according to the Florida Sun Sentinel. Dad, so I need a lift to the bank. I'm going for a job interview. Hey, just out of interest, when you're going for that job interview, shouldn't you be wearing your stockings on your legs, not over your face? Oh no, Dad, different type of job.
Yeah, don't wear a mask.
Sometime between leaving the car and going to the job interview, the 24-year-old suspect covered her blonde locks with a red wig and hat and put on sunglasses. Babe, what's in your bag? Nothing, Dad, nothing. Just to change your clothes in case I get a bit nervous. Wilson allegedly entered the bank shortly before 4 p.m. and handed the teller a handwritten note demanding money. You have exactly what... This is the note. I love this. You have exactly 1 minute to give me all your $50 and $100 bills from both drawers, or I will shoot you. No die packs, no alarms. Follow these instructions and no one will get hurt. Act normal.
Meanwhile, Dad's outside in the Datsun, listening to Skinner.
Wilson made off with $300. Did she go to the worst teller ever? Give me all your 50s and $100 bills. So she got 2 50s and 2 100s. I wanted Benjamins, not just one Ben. What's going on here? A witness reported Wilson after recognising her as someone wanted in connection with 4 other recent robberies. Dad must be my daughter is really bad at job interviews, but weirdly good at having loads of money.
Yeah, she must get paid to, a finder's fee for trying.
I think the thing we need to raise here, Dalton, 3 boys on my side, two girls on yours. Just make sure you know exactly where the girls are going. Make sure they explain it properly. And if you have to check their bag, to make sure they haven't got a mask, a sawn-off shotgun, and a wig, please do so.
Mm-hmm. Only sensible.
Only sensible. If you've got any Weird World stories, please share them. We absolutely love them. They are absolutely brilliant, and they make us laugh, because sometimes the world's not great, but sometimes you just got to laugh at it. If you want to send them to us, I am at Mainsy7. Neil is at Endutton13, and combined we are waxing _lyrical. As always, bad spelling courtesy of yours truly. Neil, time to get down to the business end, the interview end of the show, and speak to JJ Zachariason about a multitude of things, including why he loves petrol stations.
Now that's a tease.
And joining us now on Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Dutch, it's JJ Zachariason at Late Round QB. He's the editor-in-chief of Number Fire, host of the Late Round podcast, and co-host of Living the Stream. JJ, how are we today?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Well,
that's always a dangerous question to ask me.
Yeah. As we haven't got JJ for 4 hours, Neil. Let's not get into how your day's gone. Let's get straight into JJ with some of the hard hitting questions that we like to do here at Waxing Lyrical. So you're a recent convert. So how are you still enjoying coffee life?
I am enjoying it. Well, right now I'm drinking a little bit of tea, but I'm only doing this for you guys. But it's also microwave tea, which I know folks across the pond do not like when others do that. But yeah, I'm still living the coffee life, and it's been treating me well.
So what made you not have it in the first place, and what's brought you to it?
Yeah, so I had some stomach issues from it, and just general problems that more people that are probably 20 years older than me would have, but I was getting it. And I just decided to just give up coffee, see how it would go. It was fine, but I am now 3 months away from having my first child, and I realized that caffeine intake needs a little bit of an uptick. So got back into a routine. I'm not overdoing it with the coffee. But I'm just getting my body used to it a little bit, and I've definitely enjoyed it. I've found that my mornings after I consume that coffee, I am out of control. I'm just out of mind after I drink that stuff.
I find I can muster just enough energy to be angry with the world after my coffee in the morning. Otherwise, I might actually have to be pleasant to people, which just really wouldn't work.
It's never going to work, Neil. I mean, I only started drinking coffee maybe 4 years ago. I decided that I didn't like it as a taste. But now I think when that 5:30 alarm goes up to drive to work, I'm thinking this needs to happen immediately, pump it into my veins.
Yeah.
Another, of your, I won't say addictions, because obviously you're not addicted to coffee, you're just drinking it. How are you finding, what looks like being another year with no Jeff Fisher in the NFL?
I'm definitely running out of usable GIFs for sure for Twitter to share. I wish that he was at least a coordinator. So a perfect scenario would be him. Obviously, him getting another coaching gig. That's not a head coaching gig. But that's not going to happen. But if he got a defensive coordinator gig or something like that, and then that team was on Hard Knocks, because I'll tell you what, guys. My Jeff Fisher GIF library got so much stronger when they were on Hard Knocks 2 years ago, and I need that to happen. I mean, it's unbelievable. I have Jeff Fisher flicking off a camera from Hard Knocks. I mean, it's the fact that I have that GIF, the fact that even exists is incredible. So I need Jeff Fisher to do another reality show, and I think that I'd be set.
Are these saved GIFs from someone else, JJ, or are you clipping these yourself? You basically got into the GIF creation world for Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, so it started as me just collecting them, and then I started going on YouTube and finding videos of Jeff Fisher, and then I would make them, and now it's gotten to the point where, Hard Knocks, I was doing all of the work in creating these GIFs.
See, I've recently reread Bringing the Heat, which is a story about the 1992 Philadelphia Eagles, and at one point it goes back to describing the Philadelphia Eagles owner at the time and his conundrum of whether to hire Jeff Fisher or Rich Kotite as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I honestly don't know how that owner didn't shoot himself. With the gift of foresight, probably just I should sell this lump of crap for whatever I can get for it right now.
Love it.
So, JJ, move on to the draft. I want to talk about probably the most polarizing player in the draft. But you recently wrote, how it links to is that you recently wrote about the importance of completion percentage, with particular focus on someone who doesn't have a very good completion percentage from college, Mr. Josh Allen. And I just want you to explain to people just how important completion percentage has been in the past.
Yeah, so I did a quick study where I looked at, since the year 2000, I looked at relevant quarterbacks, and I looked at their best college season in terms of completion percentage. So whatever their maximum completion percentage was in a season where they saw significant passes, so 15 or more passes in that college season. And then I compared that to the number of quarterbacks who had thrown 200 or more passes or had 200 or more dropbacks, then didn't necessarily throw 200 passes for multiple seasons since 2000. So essentially I had a 74 quarterback sample where we had a completion percentage because they saw significant passes in college, and then they had multiple seasons at the NFL level where they were relevant starters, if you will. And what I found was there was no correlation in terms of an R-squared value between the highest maximum completion percentage in a single season in college versus the number of 200 plus dropback seasons they saw in the NFL. So essentially there was no correlation between the longevity of a starter in the NFL versus how good their completion percentage was. And then there also actually was not correlation between that completion percentage in college and their efficiency, which I adjusted for era according to Number Fire's expected points model. So basically, when you look at it from a very, very high level, there's no correlation between your completion percentage in college and how that translates to, just given the sample size, how this translates to success in the NFL. But what I did find was that there was a threshold where at 60%, so a quarterback in college who had a completion percentage that was below 60%, there were 12 of them in this sample of 74 quarterbacks. None of them had above average efficiency marks at the NFL level. And the group of quarterbacks who were poor, they're really, I mean, you can look at the list and it's like guys like Sean Hill, Trevor Siemian. They're not guys who have sustainable. JP Lossman, Brian Hoyer, Joey Harrington. The only two players that really stood out in terms of maybe having success at the NFL level were Tyrod Taylor and Michael Vick. And both of those guys obviously have shown success at the NFL level, not just through their arm, but through their legs as well. And so essentially, I think that we're looking at a scenario where completion percentage does not tell us whether or not a quarterback is going to be successful or not per se, but where Josh Allen ranks in terms of completion percentage, he would have to be an outlier for him to be successful in the NFL.
It just seems, obviously, we don't want to dissuade, the thinking of the football guys that are the Cleveland Browns, but it does seem counterintuitive to give the money that they gave today to Jarvis Landry, who, as we know, is pretty much a volume-based slot receiver, and then draft a quarterback who essentially is just known for his big arm and not particularly accurate. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that the fit doesn't make a lot of sense at all. I think that if you're trying to make that fit, then you're doing a little outside the box thinking, and you're thinking that the development of Josh Allen is going to be bigger or more than what he's suggested he could become. But at the same time, I mean, if we're being honest, if you're drafting Josh Allen first overall in the first place, then you have to think that he's going to be more than what he is or what he's shown at the college level. So to me, the bottom line is that, to us or to someone who's seeing Josh Allen as someone who's not going to succeed at the NFL level, we're clearly not going to see a good connection between him and Jarvis Landry and their skill sets, or at least what Jarvis Landry has shown through his 4 years in the NFL. But to people who are higher on Josh Allen, they can probably tell themselves a story where Josh Allen and Jarvis Landry could work together.
You recently released you listened to the crowd, as it were, and released your rookie rankings recently. Just a couple of players we'd like to touch on, but quickly, the first one I noticed who caught my attention was that you had Rashad Penny at running back 3. I'm quite a big fan of Rashad Penny. I was just interested to know why you got him so high.
Yeah, I mean, look, Rashad Penny's production profile is out of this world, and we know that there is some correlation between the way that running backs produce at the college level and how that translates to the pros, and that there is a strong correlation there. A lot of the work that I've done with prospecting looks at successful NFL running backs and kind of use their college traits to see what works or what they did at the college level. And with Rashad Penny, you have legitimately just unbelievable production. I mean, he averaged almost 173 rushing yards per game last season. That was almost 37 more yards than any other running back in this year's class when just looking at the 2017 numbers. He also scored more than 54% of San Diego State's touchdowns last year. That's a top 10 number in college football since 2005. I think that the one big piece with Penny that a lot of folks knock him down with is his pass protection. And to me, I think pass protection is just generally an overrated thing. And the reason I say that is, number one, a running back that's on the field on third down is not necessarily only passing. I mean, he's going out and catching passes, or pass blocking rather. He's going out and he's being a receiving back. But number two, I think that the delta or the difference between, an average running back in terms of pass pro to the absolute worst is not significant enough. Just the general effect and the impact that makes is not significant enough for me to shift the way that I view a player in terms of what he can do on a football field when the ball is in his hands. I think that the biggest scare would be that coaches don't trust Rashad Penny and they don't put him on the field. And if he's not on the field, he's not going to see as much volume. But you would expect that if a team does spend decent draft capital on someone like Penny, that he should be on the field a decent bit. And I think with running backs in general, situation matters a whole lot.
I think, just speaking selfishly, the Eagles drafted a San Diego State running back last year, Denell Pumphrey, whose single season mark Penny went past this year. Mm-hmm. It just strikes me that Penny might be the sort of person who the Eagles could bring in to sit behind Jay Ajayi, who's only under contract for this year. Then they can cut Ajayi and give more work to Penny. Do you think that's possible? It's similar to what they did when they had Westbrook and McCoy.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. Obviously, the difference to anyone who would I'm not saying that you did because you certainly didn't, but anyone making the Pumphrey connection, obviously, it's just a completely different running back. You have a guy who's a middle school sized versus a legitimate NFL sized running back in Rashad Penny. I think that fit makes a ton of sense though. For someone like Penny, I could see teams that have, my fear with any of these guys is that there's not really a ton of running back opportunities out there versus what this draft class looks like in terms of skill level. There's a lot of good running backs in this class, similar to last year. I'd say this class is a little bit more top heavy. And then there's a lot of guys who profile more as the third down backs and the receiving backs. But at the same time, I think it's a really strong class. And then if you look at the NFL landscape, the fact that all those guys came in last year, and if you just look at the general openings and opportunities at the running back position, you're not in a great spot for these guys to make immediate impacts per se. So, a team like Philadelphia is attractive more long-term, but not necessarily in here in 2018.
In the same rankings, a surprise to many would be that you had Calvin Ridley as your wide receiver 6. What was the thought process behind that, JJ?
Yeah, so I think with Calvin Ridley, I think film guys will see that he's a great route runner, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that that's definitely where his strength lies. But again, if you look at the numbers, it's not all that inspiring. He's 6'1", he has 189 pounds. He ran a 4.43, but when you adjust for height and weight, that 4.43 doesn't look as strong. So he actually ranked in the bottom half in height adjusted speed score in this year's class. And I think that his weight is sort of a problem as well. A lot of people have projected Ridley to go in the first round. But when you view wide receivers who have been selected in the first round since 2000, who also weighed at or under 190 pounds, you're looking at, and I wrote this in my article, you're looking at maybe a 30% or 36% hit rate. And two of those biggest hits, Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller, easily the two biggest hits, had far, far better productivity in college than Calvin Ridley did. And a big knock on Ridley's production. It's not like he had horrible production. I look at someone like Ridley and compare his production profile to Mike Williams last season, let's say. Mike Williams didn't have sustained production like we saw from Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, to me, is a better prospect than what we saw. I was not high on Mike Williams whatsoever coming out last year, but a big knock on Williams was that even though he seemed to be one of those guys who could catch contested balls, his touchdown numbers didn't reflect that, or at least his touchdown share numbers didn't. And what you saw out of Ridley last season was not the best touchdown share number in the world. So all of that combined, I think that Ridley's going to be a fine wide receiver at the NFL level. I just don't see him as a surefire or locked-in wide receiver one.
I did a bit of writing for Rotoviz a few weeks ago, and it was about wide receivers in the last few years taken in the first 3 rounds who don't perform as rookies. So, and if you don't, the mark I set was 200 receiving yards, and if the number that didn't hit that as a rookie, who then went on to do absolutely nothing in the NFL, was actually quite staggering. Is with someone like Ridley, do you think it could be his future could be very much landing spot dependent?
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly will play a role, because I think that if a team expects him to be a number one guy, that could be a little bit frightening and troublesome. I think that a team that's going to be wide receiver focused in the first round and needs a wide receiver is Carolina, and I don't think Calvin Ridley's an awful fit in Carolina. I would prefer them to go with someone like DJ Moore, because I think DJ Moore is a far better prospect. But I do think that Calvin Ridley could do well in certain systems. But if he were to go to, say, Dallas, and Des Bryant either is a shell of himself again next season, or he doesn't, or they do cut him, I would be fearful of what Calvin Ridley's potential would be in an offense like that.
Moving on to a team close to your heart, obviously, the Steelers. There doesn't seem to be, from what I've read anyway, there doesn't seem to be a general consensus as to what direction the Steelers need to go. I mean, there's a few people who said that they might go running back early because, we don't know what's going to happen with Le'Veon Bell. Cornerbacks have been mentioned, and there's some that have also mentioned wide receiver, even though they took Juju Smith-Schuster last year as well. Do you have any particular feelings as to what area the team needs to strengthen or what direction they should go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they absolutely need to either look at safety, all linebacker slots, and then edge rush. They really need to help the defense out, I think, in the draft. To me, like, if they get Darius Geis, let's say Darius Geis falls. I've seen him mocked there a lot. That would be a colossal mistake, I think. And it's not because I don't like Darius Geis. Geis is my RB2. I think he's really talented. And I actually think that if Geis lands in the right spot, he could outperform Saquon Barkley, not just in year one, but throughout their careers, just given landing spot and situation. That's how high I am on Geis in general. And Barkley, to me, is the best running back prospect that we've seen over the last decade and a half. But landing spot just matters. But with Darius Geis, it's just... It would blow my mind that a team in win now mode in the Steelers, we know that they're going to be competitive next year. We know that they have one of the most complete rosters in the league. To me, them getting a player who would clearly sit year one because Le'Veon Bell is going to play this season as a franchise player, as a franchise tag player, for them to just essentially waste that pick for a year in Ben Roethlisberger's career, let's say he plays 2 or 3 more seasons, that to me is a mistake. And the same, I think you can make the case if they were to go quarterback. I think that in the position that they're in right now, you need to get areas of need. You need to strengthen that defense, whether that be their pass rush, whether that be inside linebacker, whether that be safety, just kind of up the middle on that defensive side. That's the direction I think they need to go.
Is there any thought in your mind? Obviously, an area I write a bit about myself with that tight end. Do you think they could possibly address that, or is that again one of those positions that, because it's got such a steep learning curve, it would be seen as something of a luxury pick?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think that it is somewhat of a luxury pick, and really they haven't found that little success from kind of the grouping at tight end that they've had. I mean, Vance McDonald came through towards the end of last year. Jesse James, obviously, not a horrific season, and they have, the other thing too is that just given the offense and the weapons that they have, you already know that even if they had a playmaker at the tight end position, that tight end would not see a high share in that offense just because you have Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Juju, and Martavis Bryant. So I think that with that position, they could draft it because it's definitely not a strength on the team, but I don't think that it's worthwhile to pick one early on.
JJ, it's Steelers fan, as Neil mentioned, Penguins fan in the NHL. I guess my question is, when you see you obviously get angst on your team relating to how they do and how you think they should do. But there's a number of teams, Cleveland, who would cut off body parts to be as successful as both of them. those franchises. How do you? I'm a Liverpool fan, so we have similar things where Neil gets really annoyed when I get mad that the team, finishes fourth, for example. Or as Steelers,
woe is me.
Yeah, Steeler fans lose their heads because they only got to the playoffs again. They only just won the division. Can you explain to people, because I struggle too, on you're still allowed to get mad that your team didn't do what you expected to do just because you have higher expectations than the Browns?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's all about that expectation piece, right? I mean, whenever, I think that it's easy to look back and the problem with Steeler fans is that, they often are super reactionary because they are spoiled. And then, a coach like Mike Tomlin, who, of course, you can question some of the things that he's done and his in-game management is horrendous. But he's still, the fact that he's done what he's done and accomplished what he's accomplished shows that he's a fairly decent head coach. And the fact that anytime the Steelers don't make it past the divisional round, everyone wants them to be fired, tells you enough about that fan base and the way that how spoiled they really are. But I do think that, when there's a certain expectation, it just changes things. I think that's the way that it is with anything in life. Whenever, if you're going to a certain grocery store all the time and their produce is fantastic, and then all of a sudden their produce is garbage or it's just average, then you're going to question, why is this produce not good? Why aren't these strawberries good anymore? So I kind of just view it that way, that expectations rise all the time, and that expectation then just becomes kind of the new baseline.
See, my issue is I more than anyone else, I'm never going to begrudge people the right to not be miserable at things. It's just that it's the people, I say, it's the Patriots fans or the Liverpool fans or the two-time Stanley Cup winning Pittsburgh Pirate fans who, if they are upset, be upset amongst your own kind. Don't come into the Sheffield Wednesday fan and then bemoan the lack of success your football team have had. Because believe me, as Paul said before, I'd cut my arm off to have your bad season.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that, to be honest. I mean, and to be honest with you guys too, like I kind of approach, especially football, because I have to be such a fan because I'm not analyzing and writing about hockey, so I can just enjoy that game and just be as much of a fanatic as I possibly can be. But with most sports nowadays, the way that I kind of view them is I don't get upset per se when they lose. The Steelers lose to Jacksonville. I was maybe disappointed and frustrated, but like I don't let that emotion override the way that I generally feel about the sport or that team. It's really, to me, I think the proper way to kind of channel fandom is to just be excited about the wins, not be a bandwagon fan. You don't have to be a bandwagon fan when I say this, but just get excited about the wins, but don't become overly depressed about losses.
JJ, just quick on this, because correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be, but the NHL playoffs have just started. Game 1 was last night, and the Penguins beat the Flyers. Is that correct?
They did. They beat them 7-0.
Okay, well, okay. So they didn't beat them. They bent them over and spanked them.
Yeah.
So my question is, in the NFL, Philadelphia against Pittsburgh isn't a matchup. So although they are the two biggest cities in Pennsylvania, is that made up for the fact that the two teams can meet each other in NHL?
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Philly rivalry. There's two big things between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. It's the Flyers and Penguins because they play in the same division, so you just naturally have that rivalry. When it comes to the Steelers and Eagles, it's like they're in the AFC and NFC. You don't really care as much because it's a different conference. It doesn't really matter. And then there are two convenience stores that are gas stations, Wawa and Sheetz. I don't know if you guys have heard of Wawa and Sheetz, but Sheetz is Superior. That's the Pittsburgh version. And then Wawa, where it's basically a place where you can get like sandwiches and stuff like that at a gas station. And there's always a battle between Sheetz and Wawa, between Philly and Pittsburgh. So those are the two big fights that Pittsburghers or Yinzers and people from Philadelphia battle between. It's the Penguins and the Flyers, and then Wawa and Sheetz.
It's important to fight for the things you believe in life, I suppose.
It is.
Last question for you, JJ. in the course of, trying to get people to speak to us, I will bounce ideas off Paul before I then go and start sending begging emails and pleading DMs. And one person who we haven't had the pleasure of speaking to yet, but I have discussed it with Paul, is your co-host, Denny Carter. Do you think this is a good idea, or should we just delete the podcast now?
Yeah, definitely delete it as soon as you can. No, Denny's a fantastic human being, as you guys probably know. Honestly, I usually when you're around someone for a while, whether it be a friend or that you have a good friendship when that person, when you're around them, just consistently will make you laugh, like belly laugh. And with Denny, I've been podcasting with him now for 4 or 5 years, and I still look at his Twitter account and I listen to the things that he says on our podcast, and I'm still just laughing my ass off while he's saying, the dude is unbelievable. I don't know how I could do Living the Stream without him. I know that actually I couldn't do Living the Stream without him. So he's a really, really good guy, and I would say that you guys should try hard to get him on the show.
That's my job tomorrow then.
Fantastic, Neil. Get on that straight away. Well, JJ, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we will let you get back to your day in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
And that was the brilliant JJ Zachariason there, talking us through running backs, wide receivers, and petrol stations. I've actually been to a Wawa. I haven't been to a Sheetz. There's Wawa in Florida. Now, I didn't know it was a Philadelphia company, but my understanding is Wawa's all down the East Coast. So it's proper weird, right? So, we've started...
I thought it was a furniture shop.
We've actually started having this concept in the UK where they're what used to just be a service station has now got a Subway inside it and a Costa. They have always been like that, and I think that's what... But they've never been like a Subway and a Costa. It's just their own shizzle, so to speak. So,
just near to us, obviously in Rainford, there's a drive-through Starbucks. Get us, how fancy! But it's on the same forecourt as the Tesco Express petrol station that has a quick Costa in there.
Yeah,
and it's I'm not spending that much on coffee either way. So, but it's just one of those where there must be fights. There must be West Side Story scraps.
I worked,
closing times.
I worked in central London, right? You've never seen so many coffee shops per square mile in your entire life. And you'd go into the office and there'd be 6 different types of coffee because each person liked a different coffee. So it'd be we're going, who wants a coffee? Where are you going? Oh, we're going to place X, let's say it's Starbucks, and some people would say yeah, and some people would say no. No, we're going to Pret. Some people would say yes, some people would say no.
It's
Costa,
coffee.
blah, blah, blah. And you're isn't it I don't really get coffee, so I'm having a latte at best, probably putting a shot or something in so it takes the flavour away. And these people are connoisseurs of the coffee. I'm whatever.
No, they think they're connoisseurs.
Well,
what they are are pretentious bastards. Yeah, that's what you mean.
Exactly. So Neil,
there goes our Costa sponsorship.
There goes the Costa and Starbucks sponsorship. That's us for this week. Robots, taxis, and JJ Zachariason. Before we go, what's coming up on the Neil Dutton print bandwagon?
Well, I'd say I still have the Rotoviz scouting index for quarterbacks and tight ends. That'll come up either late this week or early next week. I've had a piece that came out today. It's like an indulgence, as it were. It was perfect, ideal landing spots, and it was Mike Gesicki to the New Orleans Saints. So that was out on Rotoviz. I will also have 2 pieces out. One will definitely be this week, I think. Another one will be next week on playerprofiler.com. It'll be on deep dynasty stashes at tight end, of course, and then the second one will be second year breakout tight ends. So spoiler alert, they're not very good. But no.
The articles aren't very good on tight ends.
The articles aren't very good because I wrote them. The tight ends are all exceptional football players, upstanding citizens, and people I'd be proud for my daughter to marry, or daughters, but they'll have to wait.
Yeah, I wouldn't say which one we talking about. On the Gesicki thing, Dutton, are we saying you're trying to get Drew Brees? Is Jimmy Graham binky back?
Pretty much the point. You've just summed up the whole article, essentially just that Drew wants his boo-boo back.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Well, that's us for this week. We'll be back next week. Enjoy your week, and these top guys are out.